My name is Lori Cassida. I'm the Director of Finance for the School Division, and I'm real excited for you to be here this morning. Thank you for making time in your schedule to be here. We're very excited about conducting this compensation study for the division. It's long overdue, something that needs to have been done for a long time, and our board has appropriated the funds for us to do it. We've hired Evergreen Solutions, LLC, to conduct that compensation and classification study. And I'm pleased to introduce you this morning the president of that company. Her name is Recio, and she's going to tell you a little bit about Evergreen and about your role in this study and what we need for you to participate to make it effective. So thank you. Help me in welcoming her.
Thank you, Lori, and good morning, everyone. Can you hear me in the back? Yes. Great. As Lori said, I'm Linda Recio, president of Evergreen Solutions, and Evergreen is delighted to be able to start on this study for you all, and it's very important that we have your participation. I'm going to talk to you all about that on this PowerPoint over the next 30 minutes. Evergreen, who we are. We've worked in 45 states doing these types of studies. We've done over 400 of them. We have extensive public sector HR experience, and we do a lot of things for HR organizations, performance evaluations, HR audits, et cetera. But this is a compensation study, and that is what we're doing for Daniel Public Schools. We've done them in several jurisdictions, several divisions in the Commonwealth of Virginia, as well as local governments, colleges and universities, and state agencies. Our goals for this study. Okay, important that you know these. First, to review your current classification and compensation system to ensure internal equity within this division. We will survey peer organizations, peer school divisions to ensure external equity. And then finally, we'll produce recommendations to provide Danville Public Schools with a classification and compensation system that is equitable both internally and externally. What can you expect from this study? Please don't expect a staffing study. We're not here to tell the school system there are too few teachers or too few administrators. That's not our purpose. This is not a staffing study. Nor is there any guarantee of across-the-board salary increases. We are not your school board. We're an external consulting firm. What can you expect? You can expect a compensation study and analysis with recommendations, and you can expect communication throughout the study process. Most important, how can you participate? Okay. You can attend an orientation session. Thank you for coming to the first one. Please tell your colleagues there's another one today at 1 o'clock. If someone's out today, this will be a video link to your website online by tomorrow sometime. So please have your folks, have your colleagues go to your website and listen to it before they do the completion of the instruments. We will also, the week after Thanksgiving, be doing focus groups. As the superintendent said, Dr. Jones, in his communication with you, not everyone will be selected, but some folks will be selected for focus groups of like employees. We'll have a group of secretaries, a group of principals, a group of custodians, etc. We'll be here 3 full days after Thanksgiving. All employees will be asked to complete a job assessment tool, JAT, and the majority of this presentation is going to be about how to complete the JAT. If you're a supervisor, how many supervisors do I have in this room? Anybody supervise anyone else? Okay, it doesn't appear to be. But if you're a supervisor, it's important for you to know what your supervisor will be involved in. There is a supervisor's review. I'll talk to you about that in a couple of minutes. Also for supervisors is a management issues tool. If your supervisor feels that someone under them is underpaid, classified wrong, they will tell us via the MIT, Management Issues Tool. Let's now concentrate on the JAT, which we all will be involved in working on. The JAT is designed to gather information about your job, no one else's, just your job. It's critical to this study. Why? Because JATs are used to determine how your work is organized. You can say you're a classroom teacher, but you being a classroom teacher at the elementary level will be different than the trigonometry teacher at the high school. Determine whether this school system is paying you competitively and fairly. Recommend appropriate pay levels and ranges, and develop a new system that is equitable internally and externally. Important ingredients, you haven't done one in a long time in Danville Public Schools. How can you complete the JAT? First of all, it will be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week during the active survey period. I'll talk to you what I mean by that. How many folks in this room do not have an email address for the school system? Okay, so everybody here will be covered. Will have accommodations for those that don't. But right now I'm talking to a group of folks. Everyone in the room has a Danville Public Schools email address. It can be done from any computer in the world. If you're planning a trip to China tomorrow, you can link on the internet and you can complete this survey, okay? Each employee will have a unique ID number, How will you find that out? On Wednesday of this week, you will get an email from Evergreen Solutions. Wednesday, November 8th, and that email will take you to our site. It will be just for you, and it will be online there for 2 weeks. You have 2 weeks to complete this instrument. After 2 weeks, a supervisor will be doing a review for about 1 week. I'm going to talk to you more about that. What's the content of the JAT? The JAT collects information on the following. Section 1, your job overview, your type of work performed, the educational work experience required for your job. In Section 2, your essential job functions. In Section 3, we're going to ask you about 5 job factors: leadership, working conditions, complexity, decision-making, and relationships. I'm going to talk more about those in a minute. Then the next section, equipment and machinery. What are you required to do as part of your job? Section 5, physical abilities. What physical abilities do you need to perform your job? Okay, let's get started. Step 1. Okay, this is what you'll see when you click into the email site. You'll see your unique ID number, and you will see your last name, because there will be a link to your last name. You click on this where it says continue. Step 2, your login menu. Okay, everyone November 8th will click into employee JAT, not the supervisor's review. That's not accessible for 2 more weeks. So click on employee JAT. If there's a problem, you will see on the bottom there, you will email Evergreen at jatconsultevergreen.com. We are 8 to 5 East Coast time. We'll be on the line, and then you will also have our phone number if you prefer to call us. Let's look at the main menu. Okay, this is the main, and you can come in and log out at any time during those 2-week period, the 2-week period. Just save what you wrote, what you jotted down. But this is the main menu. And from the main menu, you can go to the 5 sections: basic information, essential functions, job factors, wherever you need to be to complete the instrument. Do you have to do it all at once? No, you can click on one day. You can even print a printer-friendly copy. And if you're one of the folks that like to jot down notes, you can jot down notes, and then by the 14th day, you can put it online. Okay? Basic job information. Okay, we need you to give us your supervisor's name. The only purpose of this screen is, who do you report to? Who does your evaluation? We want you to list that person's name before you get started. Okay. Section 1, basic information. Okay. We want you to click to let us know what's your primary role. Are you a clerical or manual worker? Are you a teacher or paraprofessional? Are you an administrator? Are you an executive? Click, and we've given you operational definitions. Click the one that best matches your role in this school division. We also want you to give a couple of sentences on the nature of your job. We don't want 5 pages. We just want a couple of sentences. I often say, what about if your neighbor asks you, what do you do in Danville Public Schools? Well, I am a custodian at X elementary school, and I am responsible for X, Y, and Z. Okay, that's all we need, 1 or 2 sentences on this slide. Okay, section 1 continued. This is information on education and experience, not what you have, but what should be required for your position. If you leave tomorrow and they had to replace you, what education should be required for your position? There's a pull-down menu. It says no high school education, high school diploma, GED, all the way up through a PhD. If you're a classroom teacher and you have a PhD, does a PhD have to be required? Again, we want your opinion on this. Then your experience, another drop-down menu. If you left the school system tomorrow and they replaced you, what kind of experience should be required in your opinion? 0 experience, person can get on the job training. 3 years of experience, more than 10 years experience. What do you believe it should be? Okay. Then on the bottom of this slide is licenses and certifications. What should be required for your position? If you're a plumber, do you need a plumber certificate? If you're a teacher, do you need the state certification? What is required? And next, what is preferred? So you complete this to the best of your ability for your position. This will take a few minutes longer. This is where we want you to tell us your major tasks, and we'll give you about 20 spaces. Do you have to give us 20 tasks? No, you do not. You can give us 4, 5, 10, okay? What are your major responsibilities over the course of a year? What percentage of your time would you spend in that responsibility over the course of the year? And do you consider this a priority task? You check if you considered it a priority. Each of the tasks should add up to 100%. Okay, so if you have 4 tasks, they should add up to 100. If you have 20 tasks, they should add up to 100%. Can you use a catch-all category, say all other tasks as assigned 5%? Sure you can. Sure you can. If you can't think of enough tasks to add up to 100, you can use that catch-all. If you need to think about this and you list some tasks Wednesday and you think about it, you say, oh my gosh, I forgot an important task. As long as you save this screen, you can go back and you can edit it, revise it up through the 2-week window. The next 5 slides are on job factors. Job factors, again, your opinion on your job. The first one is on leadership. Leadership. In your job, how much leadership responsibility do you have? And there are 8 variables. And I'm not going to read them all to you, but you start very simplistically. I follow directions provided by my supervisor and receive feedback on what I do. The most complex one on the bottom is I determine strategy as well as long-range goals for Danville Public Schools, etc. Read them all. Read all 8 of them. Select the closest match. Okay, you might say, well, it's between number 4 and 5. Okay, well, select the one you think is closest. Then at the bottom, provide the answer. Why did you select what you did? Okay? So each one of the next 5 slides are going to be like this. This is on leadership. The second compensatory or job factor is on working conditions. Working conditions. I work in a safe, secure, and stable work environment. Okay, number 4, I work in an environment with heavy equipment and machinery. All the way down, select the closest, read them all, select the closest match, give us the reason you selected what you did in a couple sentences. Okay? Save and continue. The third job factor is on complexity. How complex do you believe your job is? Read them all, starting from I perform specific clerical or manual tasks, all the way down to I develop policies and long-range plans and allocate funds for the district. Probably the check mark for Lori would be at that bottom level there. Read them all, select the closest match, and say why you selected what you did. Okay? The fourth compensatory factor is on decision-making. How much decision-making do you have autonomy with for your job? First, I perform routine or clearly defined activities under close supervision. If that's you, check it as the closest match. Read them all, select the closest match, provide the reason you selected what you did. The last compensatory factor is on relationships. How much relationships do you have as part of your job? Number one, I primarily work alone. Number two, I work with less than 10 coworkers who are mostly engaged in the same activities as me. Read them all, select the closest match. If you're torn between number 5 and number 6, select the one you believe is closest, then give us the reason you selected what you did. If it was a difficult decision, tell us why in the answer. Okay, those are the 5 compensatory factors or job factors. Section 4 of the JAT talks about equipment. Okay? Do you use in your job, and you'll see, I'm just giving you some examples here, and I'm sorry I went too far. This clicker is very sensitive. Okay, do you use in your job small office equipment, word processing, computers for data entry? Check all that apply. Do you supervise employees who use these equipment? Again, I don't have supervisors in the room, but supervisors would also complete this. Okay? Save what you did on this slide and continue. But again, you're going to have a lot more check marks than this. This is just an example of what you'll see on that slide. Physical abilities. The type of work do you do? Medium work, you involve lifting of 50 pounds at a time, 100 pounds, whatever it is, describe or check what you think is appropriate for your job. What required abilities do you need? Do you need to lift? Do you need to speak? Do you need to stand? Do you need to push? Check all that apply. Check all that apply. See, do you have to see? Do you have to speak? Do you have to hear? If you're a bus driver for this school system and you say, I don't have to see, then I think Dr. Jones has a problem with you as the bus driver in his school system. So keep that in mind. Be very careful in what you need to do and what you don't need to do in terms of physical abilities. Here are some tips for completing the instrument. After each section, click the Save button. Click the Save button. Any questions, contact us, either via email or via phone. You have this on the form. Now, what can the supervisors do? I know we don't have any in the room, but you should know what your supervisor can do. A supervisor, again, a week after the 2-week window, will be able to review what you write. Now, we usually don't have problems here. Most supervisors know what their employees do because they evaluate them once a year. So again, this is not an issue, but a supervisor cannot change your answer. They can only agree or disagree. Let's use my silly example about the bus driver that said he couldn't see. Well, if I was the director of transportation who was supervising that bus driver, I can't change that response, but I sure can tell Evergreen that my bus driver clearly needs to see. Okay? That's what a supervisor can do, only agree or disagree. A supervisor's review takes place, again, 1 week after your employee review. And this just gives, since we don't have supervisors in the room, I'm not going to go through this, but it just says what a supervisor can do. The employee's name is there, the supervisor's name, and the supervisor will be able to see on the next slide what you wrote. So, okay, and be able to complete it. A supervisor, this is the management issues tool as well. If your supervisor believes you are misclassified or not paid appropriately, this is where they tell us on the management issues tool. They give us your name, they give us your position, they tell us their name as a supervisor, and they can tell us what concerns they have about your position. Just because they give us concerns doesn't mean that Evergreen's automatically going to give that person or recommend that that person get a $10,000 raise, but it alerts us to some concerns that your staff have within the school system. This is more specific information on the management issues tool, completed by supervisors. The job title for this position should be changed to. It's difficult to recruit and retain the person in this position. How do they recommend a resolution? The title should be expanded. They could give a proposed new title. Their pay does not now give us the, describe what the person does. We find this very often in IT positions, especially in school systems that haven't done one of these in many, many, many years. The IT positions have changed, and what was required way back when is not what's required today. A supervisor can fill this in and tell us what they would like us to hear. And that's it. That is it. This instrument generally takes about 30 minutes to complete. If you go back and forth, sometime a little longer. If you lose your login information because you didn't do it the first day, you can call us and we'll give you your login number, your name, your login name, so you can get back in. If you forget to save your work, there's probably nothing Evergreen can do. We can't re-record your information, so it's always important as you complete each section to save, save, save. And when you're done, you would lock it up and send it back to us. If you complete it the first day, you don't want to look at it ever again, then send it back to us. If you want to know what you said at the end, you can print out yourself a copy. Maybe when the study is done a couple months from now, you want to say, well, what did I say to contribute to that? You could have your printed copy there.